Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy, Nate Weitzer, on the East Coast. And we are looking at player props here on a Friday slate that's got plenty to choose from here, Nate. We are super hot so far in our last three, going 13-2 since we started tracking these this season on these player props. Want to make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us each and every weekday of this regular season. Also have a couple game videos up for you each of those days as well, including on this Friday slate. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we have all of our great written content and offers for you guys, as well as our odds finder tool where you can go ahead and make sure to shop those NBA player props to the best of your ability across U.S. sports books. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into our first prop of this Friday night slate.
Yeah, give me Mr. Maxey here with the Sixers facing the Raptors once again. It's part of a fate of James Harden, really, in this matchup. I mean, what he's not able to do against the Raptors with their length, it was sort of the start of his unraveling in the playoffs last season. He shot 36% or worse in 4 of their 6 playoff games. And so enter Maxey, who shot 51% in that series, who played 42 minutes and averaged 21 points, 4.8 rebounds, 4.8 assists. So now, coming off a 31-5-6 game against the Raptors on a 30% usage rate, played 43 minutes. His prop still pretty generous here, 18.5 points. Definitely would hit that, and the 25.5 PRA isn't far behind. If you're going to play 43 minutes, you're going to stumble into some peripheral stats when you have the ball in your hands that much, and the Sixers need him so badly to inject some life into this, to inject some transition. And especially in this matchup, because Toronto, right, they're playing Scotty Barnes at point guard. Everybody is so big and therefore too slow to deal with a guy like Maxey. They can deal with Harden. Harden's just going to dance in place. I remember when Josh was on the Maccabi Olympic team and some guy would dribble back and forth and he'd just be like, okay, where are you? Yeah, shout out whoever that guy is from New Jersey with all the flashy dribbling. But I digress. Tyrese Maxey, a matchup problem for Toronto, averaging nearly 23 points and 6 assists in his last 3 regular season. So give me his props here again tonight.
Man, it's so true. And what James Harden dribbled the ball, they were talking about on the TNT post game, 500 times against the Raptors last game or something ridiculous. It was brutal to watch. Something's got to give, dude, because if Doc Rivers doesn't realize he's about to have a mutiny on his hand, right? It's you've got 5 guys on this team. Maxey's one of them. Tobias Harris is one of them. Bunch of other guys can fall into the category of wait, we were here first. We were here. We were good. And now you're playing guys like Danwell House because you're just recreating the Rockets of the Northeast from a few years ago. What are we doing? So, I mean, I don't know if Doc's always been smart enough to know when he's going to lose his job. So, I mean, he's on the hot seat, man. And if you don't realize that a guy like Tyrese Maxey playing off of Embiid, man, we know what they did together last year, how much better Maxey at least was when he's playing with Embiid and how much better he can continue to get if they give him that usage rate like they gave him the other night. But it was too late. Most of that came in the second half for Maxey. And it was a lot of watching Harden dribble for a lot of that first and third quarters. So let's move on to something hopefully a little bit more fun to talk about. My Jalen Brunson and those Knickerbockers taking on the Bucks, who we talked about in that game video. I know Nate likes them to cover the 7. I don't hate it. I do love an under there, but 6.5 and assists at plus 120 on DK. I mean, they are baiting us a little bit to take it after he's coming off of a 13 assist game in 41 minutes against the Charlotte Hornets, playing at light speed, where the Hornets all game, including Dennis Smith Jr., who just did not stop sprinting around. But that all said, it's Jalen Brunson, and this is what their offense is going to be predicated on, right? And so the one game that he hasn't had 9 assists so far this season that they've played was a game where he didn't really need to play too much against the Detroit Pistons, and I believe he actually ended with 9 in that one as well. So he's got, I think 3 of the 4 games, or he's gotten at least that this year. We love to bring up what he does when he's not playing with Luka, and look, man, he's proven that that's really who he is. It's not like he was just some dude that played off of one of the best offensive players of our generation in Doncic. It's also no, this dude was able able to play a little bit of your turn, my turn, but not in just it's my turn to score versus your turn to score. It's my turn to facilitate versus yours. And so he's taken that role over here, and he's able to get Julius Randle into his spots. I said it earlier, they have a few too many instances where they were just setting up guys for post-ups or for ISOs rather than the last couple games where Jalen's had 9 and 13 assists. And it's because of the fact that he's setting guys up in position to score, not position to take their guy off of the dribble. So following you big time on the Jalen for plus 120, definitely following you for 7 assists for him.
Yeah, I mean, if the Knicks are going to play team ball, that's something the Bucks haven't dealt with yet. I mean, they face the Nets, who are the most ISO heavy team. They face the Rockets, who are just freewheeling gung ho, and they face James Harden and the Sixers, who we just got done talking about. And Harden had 9 assists in that game, right? Because the ball was in his hands constantly. Brunson has the ball in his hands constantly, and he's a better decision maker than Harden. And yeah, the last 2 times he faced the Bucks without Luka in the lineup, 11 assists, 8 assists. And that was when the Bucks were more at the height of their powers than they are right now. They're thin on the wing. So I think it's fair. I think you want to take the 28.5 PRA to be safer about it. That makes sense too, because he'll probably score about 20 points. I think 18.5 is his points prop as well. Moving on to a guy we also talk about in the game videos here, Anfernee Simons, who, of course, Dame out. He used to be put your money on CJ, and here's the new CJ. Guy averaged 23 and 5 with Dame out since last January. In his career without Dame, I mean, it's kind of skewed because he played a lot of games as a rookie that barely played. But, well, I'll just go with what he is without Dame. 25% usage rate, 19 points, nearly 5 assists, and shooting 42% from 3. He's minus 140, Josh, to hit 4 threes. So that's a nice chunk of points right there. The prop is 23.5 in terms of his points. I don't mind the 31.5 PRA either. But I would definitely take those over the threes because the odds are so low. And Houston playing with plenty of pace, giving up plenty of easy buckets, and the second most assists and the 5th most points to point guards thus far. I mean, what's not to like?
I love it. I mean, he's going to get 18 points off of 3-pointers, to be honest with you. I mean, I believe I called him Anfernee Curry Simons last season at one point because he was like 5.5 for 11 from 3 over the course of like a month when he just went bananas last year, right when Dame was like, yo, I'm out for the season. And then it was Simons was like, cool, I got this. I'm going to drop 30 points in like 4 out of 5 games as soon as you're out or whatever it was. So, yeah, I love Mr. Simons in this one. He also seems to love to play against other young guards who don't play much defense, as do the Rockets not do. So, last one here, I'm going to go with a Marcus Smart under on his points and his rebounds specifically. He's still diming up a bit, to be honest with you, about 6 assists a game this season. But it's really, for me right now, there's so many other guys that are doing so many things, specifically rebounding for this team. Jason Tatum is just turned into LeBron James from his Miami Heat days so far this season, in the way that he's getting all of the stats and really also controlling the offense. It looks really, really great. He's playing Cleveland. That's the best defense when it comes to playing point guards. In case you were wondering, this season and last season they were almost as good, but this season really they're the number one in terms of limiting point guards in points, rebounds, and assists. Meaning they give up the fewest in all of those categories, as well as 3-pointers made. So that's something that is not going to bode well for Mr. Smart, who he's playing the starters minutes, which is also why his usage rate is at about 15% this season when he's on the floor. Whereas you look at a guy like Malcolm Brogdon playing 23 minutes versus Marcus Smart's 35, but his usage rate's at 25. Right, for when he's on the floor, because he's the general of the second unit, and he's getting some time at the end of the games, although it hasn't been too close in enough of their games at the end really for them to need someone like Brogdon to really control the floor. So haven't seen quite as much as that, but I just don't think that it's there for him. He's averaging about 2 boards a game this season, and you look at his number versus the Cavs historically going back to last season, also averaging about 2 boards a game. So the 16.5, he's about averaging about 3.5 less than that this season already, playing against a team who's so good against point guards as well. The juice is there for it.
I mean, speaking as somebody who listens to Celtics fans all the time and cries for Marcus Smart to shoot less, I think somebody has finally hit home on him there, because we've got Brogdon now, we've got another season of Derek White. we don't need your offense that much. And he's been locking up. I mean, I'm sorry we slandered him a little bit about the Defensive Player of the Year award, because so far he has been incredible on that end of the floor, but that doesn't translate to stats. Like you said, on averaging under 10. Jalen, Jason, and Malcolm Brogdon all close to a 30% usage rate. There's just not a lot of shots to go around otherwise. And Cleveland playing slow, giving up the fifth fewest rebounds and assists to point guards. So it's not a great matchup to take an over here for Smart.
Yep. For sure. They might need to readjust what they keep putting his props at, because that feels a bit high for what he's expected to do, just stats-wise. I'm not saying he's not a super valuable player. Like you said, he is, but we're talking about stats. So I believe he's going under in this one. So that's all the time we have for you. Looking to close out the week super hot after 13-2 over the last couple of days in the NBA with these player props. Make sure to like and subscribe. Come back and see us next week. And until we do see you next, happy betting.